Hello YouTube, Andrew here, a guy with a tractor. Today's video we're going to do a review on my 2020 John Deere 2038r. If you want to see what I like and what I don't like, stick around. Alright, so before we get into the pros and cons, we're going to talk about how I ended up with this tractor. About a year and a half ago, I wanted a tractor to do some stuff around the house, and I'm a firefighter, so I got 2 days off. I work one day and I'm off 2. So I was like, why not? I use the tractor, do some side jobs, make some extra money. Cool. I got a little Kubota B2320. Had a bush hog with it, scrape blade, no loader. I had that tractor for about 3 months before business got so much that I couldn't do it, and I needed a loader. So I traded that in July of last year, of 2019. I bought a brand new John Deere 2038r with a loader. Got a Frontier 5-foot brush cutter with it, and I kept that tractor up until June of 2020. Had right at 200 hours on it. I did a review on it. I'll post a link for it. It just, like I said in that review, didn't have enough PTO horsepower that I wanted, and going into this season, getting bigger and bigger mowing jobs, I needed more horsepower. So the business was where I could, and I was able to sell that tractor for enough money that I could turn around and buy this. And my dealer had one sitting on the lot, so I didn't have to wait on it or anything. I went in and seen it, and this is actually the first large 2-frame series I'd ever seen. When you think about a 2 series compared to a 3 series, you think, well, a 3 series is bigger than a 2 series. When it comes to a 2R and a 3E, not really. If you really want to get into specs, the 2R is 5 inches longer and weighs a little over 200 pounds more than the 3E does. You do lose a little bit in tires. It's got a smaller set of tires on it to incorporate the fuel and the fenders and whatnot, and it is stretched out a little bit further to incorporate the mid PTO and the mid mount mower option that you can get on these. But the features that come standard on the 2R, I'm not going to steer anybody away from a 3E if that's what you're doing. You're doing your little around the house. The E's are a great tractor. I spend 8-10 hours a day on this thing. The 2Rs are more comfortable and enjoyable to operate than the 3Es. So, I'm going to get into, I've got some stuff typed out here that I wanted to cover. Since I've had this tractor, I've had this list made up, and I've been adding to it of things I like and dislike about this. So, a disclaimer, nobody's paying me to do this. This is my own opinion. My opinion may be different than someone else's. I'm just going to tell you this is mine. I did buy this tractor, and if anybody's curious, the tractor with the 220R loader and the standard bucket, $28,000 and some change is what it was out the door. That's in Georgia with our 7% sales tax. So figure, I don't know, probably 26,000 probably. By the time you add taxes and everything, then it was 28. So there's your ballpark. I ain't pulling out the paperwork and giving you the exact number, but somewhere 28,000. Con number 1, loader responsiveness. When I got on this tractor, coming from my 3E, the 3E at an idle speed, your loader is just super responsive. Now, at first, that tractor took a while to get used to. But after I got used to it and realized it was that fast, and could feather it good. It was really nice because you start the tractor up, rear loader came up, everything was good. This one, at idle, it's real slow. Loader operations, 1800 to 2000 RPMs, gives you a good, nice fluid motion that I enjoy. So if you've driven one of them and you haven't driven a 2R, do know that your loader speeds are slower on the 2R series than the 3E series. Con number 2, greasing the front drive shaft. The 3E series don't require greasing, which kind of bothered me. And I was real happy to see on the 2R that, yeah, it has grease zerks. Yay. I didn't realize how big of a pain in the ass they are. The rear one, if you don't have one of these, you ain't getting it greased. There's such a small opening that I can't get the regular grease gun on there. So I had to get one of these needles to hit the grease zerk with. The front one, 2 10mm nuts and 2 10mm bolts to take it off. Hope you hadn't lost your 10mm or buy another one. I suggest 10mm ratcheting wrench. Works great. You take 2 of those off, you remove the cover that covers the front U-joint on the front drive shaft, and you can access it. And by this time I've still got this on, so I use this too. It will fit, but it's easier just to do this because those U-joints on the front are really small and don't have the room to get in like a normal one. So I will try to post a link in this. I think Lock and Lube makes it. I bought it off Amazon. I'll try to post a link down in the description for it. But if you got a 2R and you're having problems greasing it, this little puppy right here. Con number 3. All right, so 2032s, 2038s, maybe the 2025s, not for sure on them. That's a whole different beast. I ain't paid attention to them. 32s and 38s, they have split brakes. There's a little lever that holds those together. Sometimes I find that thing works loose. You go to hit your brakes, and now you're turning. So be mindful of that. It don't take much. Just reach your foot up and push it back into place. So, con number 4. Probably the most aggravating that I have to deal with on a regular basis. Turnbuckle stabilizers on 3-point hitches. I don't know why on a tractor that costs damn near $30,000 do they still put turnbuckles on and don't even offer an option that is factory to have telescoping stabilizers. Mind blown. I don't know. Yeah, it is really difficult. If all your implements are quick hitch compatible, all your pins are pretty well the same. So once you get it set, they will open up and slide onto those pins. Just know they're annoying. If you have all quick hitch compatible implements, buy a quick hitch. So we're going to call this con 4.5. Did you know Deere does not offer telescoping lift arms for the 2R? Go in and ask them. We don't make those. They don't make them. Yeah, that's what they'll tell you. You look it up. Not an option. Go build one on John Deere's website. Not an option. Guess what? I have them. Let me tell you how I have them. They're an option on the 3E series. Yeah, I bought them when I had my 3E. Right at $400, say $400. Price for quick hitch, but all my implements are not quick hitch compatible, so I opted for telescoping link arms. I need to get the video finished of where I put these on. I lost some video footage, got to remake it, but I was wanting to use I wanted telescoping link arms because I grew up with them. I had them on my 3E. I love them. So when I looked at this tractor on the lot, it was sitting right next to a 3E. I was looking at the rear ends going, I'm pretty sure those will fit. Well, parts people say, nope, they won't fit. Those are for a 3E. So I do some digging. You look at the stock lift arm that comes on a John Deere 3E and the stock lift arm that comes on a John Deere 2R series, the part numbers are identical. And I can tell you from experience, the 3E telescoping link arms will fit on a John Deere 2R. I'll show you that here in a bit. All right, con number 5. Unlike the 3Rs, the 4Rs, Deere does not offer a deluxe brush guard for this tractor. I would have really liked to have seen the option of a factory option of having that grill guard that's got the expanded metal on it for grapple work. I ended up having to build one for my 3 Series because they didn't offer one for the 3E Series. I'll post a link somewhere up there for that build video. Built a really heavy duty one for that. And I guess I'm going to have to do the same thing for this. I just kind of got to redesign it because the front brush guard that they call a brush guard that would protect you from maybe a tree standing upright if you was to hit it. But it does nothing for brush and stuff when you're using a grapple coming in. Con number 6. I don't know why they only think you can get on and off of a tractor on one side. They always put the step on the right hand side. But like when I pull in my garage here, there's a shelf right there. I need to exit over here. There's no step. I've got one bad knee that's kind of messed up. But I am 6'1". I can get off it. It would have been nice to put a step on both sides. The way this loader control valve is located, there's plenty of room, especially with the tilt steering. You can get off and on both sides. I understand some tractors have got the loader valve over here and you can't get on and off beside that valve. Not the case on the 2R. For Christ's sake, offer a right-hand step. Don't put it factory, but offer it as an option at least. Con number 7. And it's not just a problem with the 2Rs. My 3E was the same. I'm pretty sure the 1025, I'm pretty sure all the way to 4R, it may even be higher than that. Problem with that is right here in the center is your key. Problem with that, when you climb on and off and that key is right there in the center, that is the only obstruction in the middle of this thing. Guess what you find all the time? If you have one of these and you've lost one of your keys, go ahead and buy some more because you will break them off eventually. You may just bend it, but there's going to come a time and day that you snap this and you no longer have a key. So always have a key on the tractor. I have a pack because they come in a 2-pack. I have a 2-pack here, and I keep one on my truck keys also. So if I'm out on a job and I break this one, I can go get my truck keys and have another one, and I have extras here. They're not much. Invest in them because you're going to need them. Con number 8. Everybody knows what the 3-point hitch is, right? The top link, the top piece. So when you unhook from an implement, there's a place to slide it up, and it's a little wire ring, and it slides in, holds it. Because when you back up to your next implement, it's better if that piece is standing up, because sometimes when you back into an implement, if that thing's down, you can't raise it up. You need to be able to drop that implement or that top link into and put the pin through. I've had this tractor 4 months, got 108 hours on it. Most of those have had an implement on the back. So it's not like my top link has stayed in that little wire retainer and stretched it open. No, it's probably been in there, I don't know, 40 or 50 times, just in and change an implement, bring it right back out. Here's the problem with it though. It won't hold it in there now. I unhook from an implement before I get to the next implement to hook up. That thing is done, fell out, and bam, it falls down against your PTO shield and bending the PTO shield. Deere needs to come up with a better solution that does not bend. I'm not the only one that's complaining about this. I've seen everybody else. Yeah, it's an easy fix, but I shouldn't have to fix it after 100 hours and 4 months of use. Con number 9. If you don't take care of your equipment, this one's irrelevant, but I do. Cleaning out the air filter on the 2Rs is an absolute pain in the ass compared to what it was on the 3E. I know there's more stuff under the 38 horse. It's got the DPF and all that, but I should be able to understand removing the side panel. Not a problem. It's 2 little twist turns, slides right off. But I got to deal with that rubber strap to disconnect the whole air box to bend it up enough to get the air filter out. Put a little tab on the rubber piece so it can unsnap easier and you're not having to try to get your fingers under it to unsnap it. Poor design. Poor design. Up until last week, I had 9 cons. Now we're going to list number 10. Which I knew about, but was hoping that the problem had been fixed, and my hindsight was I should have listened to the other YouTubers. Hardy Brothers Outdoors. I'll put a link to his video on this topic. The front axle bolts on the 2R series. They will work theirself out and fall out. Now Deere has come to the light that, okay, there is a problem with this. They took his in and fixed it for him. He's got a DTAC number, a solution number, and everything. So I took that into mind. They were like, oh, we can't pull that DTAC. Which his is a 2032R, mine's 38, so maybe it didn't cross-reference something. Anyways, I spent $30 on new bolts. I don't know if I needed 8 new ones because the new ones look identical to the old ones, but it didn't hurt because last week, as I loaded on the trailer, I realized I was missing a bolt on the front axle. It's crap. It's happened to me. So I went to Ace and found one that was a 10.9 metric bolt, M12 by 1.75 pitch. Put it in there, tightened it up, went to tighten all the other ones up. They were loose. And I ended up breaking one off in my front axle. Well, I ended up having to drop my entire front axle out from underneath the tractor at 102 hours, I think, to remove a broken bolt out of the front axle. I guess when they all got loose, they moved around and cracked one, and when I went to torque it, it couldn't handle it, and it sheared off. Some of the other ones, you could tell they had worn the part that it went through the frame. The threads were rounded. So apparently on a 2020, this is still a problem, and Deere hasn't fixed it from the factory. Now, Josh, in his videos, he shows the report from where Deere contacted him and took his tractor in and fixed it. What they done, they replaced the bolts Loctite and tightened them to 88 Newton pounds or whatever it is. Check his video out, he tells all that. And if you contact him, comment on his videos, he will help you out, give you information and contact numbers, and he's great for this. I just didn't have the time to try to make Deere pay for it. Like I said, it was $30. I needed to get back on the job. $30, a little bit of Loctite, a little bit of time, putting them back in. Wasn't that bad. But take a paint pen. Make sure that those things are torqued down to the proper spec and draw a line on the nut or the head of the bolt up onto the frame. That way, I've even got it as a everyday check in my Tractor Plus app. If you haven't checked that out, check that out. It's an app on your phone you get on every day, and it says, hey, this is what you need to check. It knows it keeps up with your hours on your tractor. There's a Bluetooth thing, but I just manually punch in my hours, and it says, okay, you need to check this, this, and this. I've got it as a daily inspection to go around and check those now. I should have done it sooner, and I suggest you do it. All right, so those 10 things are what I have found not to like in my first 100 hours. I work my tractor hard. Like I said, let me look right here. I have 108.3 hours on it. And in that 108.3 hours, I have 100.5 vehicle hours, which is hours actually moving. So I've got a lot of seat time on this, right at 100 hours. 58.6 of those have been operating PTO implements. My soot level is actually at 0, and my exhaust filter is actually at 0 because as I finished up the job today, it was doing a regen, so all that is cleared out. That is the second regen. It did the other one at 50 hours on the dot, and I was actually only at 40-something% on the filter. That one I wasn't expecting because that was midsummer. I was out bush hogging all the time. I kept my engine RPMs up, and I would see my exhaust filter creep up, and then it was burning itself off. But 50 hours on the dot, it went into regen. So just be prepared for that. This one, like I said, it was 57 hours, I think. At 107, it went into it. I was suspecting it because it's getting colder. The engine's not as running as bad, and I hadn't been doing a lot of PTO-driven work lately, so I hadn't had that high RPMs to help keep the DPF clean. Went into regen, like I said, I was working, everything went fine, but in 108 hours, if anybody wants to know, I've done 2 regens. All right, so we're going to get into the pros. A lot of this is going to be me comparing this to my previous 2 tractors, my Kubota B2320 and my John Deere 3038r. And what I like about this tractor, and a lot of it's going to be what those didn't have, and reasons I chose this model of tractor. All right, so pro number 1. I'm going to put it like a friend of mine said. He's on social media. You've probably seen him around, especially if you've ever looked up a 3046R. He's had a lot of issues with those. He had a 3046R and a 2038R, and he runs a similar business that I do. He's also a firefighter up north, and on his off days he does tractor work. Horrible problems with 3046. And so I called him up and was like, hey, what do you think about the 2030R? And his exact words are, man, it's like driving a sports car. And I was like, no tractor could be like driving a sports car. Till I drove this thing. It is awesome. The power to weight ratio, being able to just accelerate, even in high gear. My 3025E, if it was in high gear, it better be flat ground. Can't speak for the 3038, never drove it, but I know the 2038R, I can travel in and out of my subdivision, which is some serious hills. I live in the North Georgia mountains, and in high gear, it'll truck right along and hammered down. It'll keep RPMs. It don't drop like my other one did. I would have to drop into low range and end up driving down the road in low range. So the power to weight ratio is amazing on this little thing. All right, so in ergonomics, armrest, when you're spinning all day on the tractor, they're amazing. But it plays into a couple other features. The loader control valve that is mounted on the fender versus out on the loader. Everything's flick of a wrist, more or less. 3-point right here, not down here in between your seats. And stuff like your PTO or your cruise control or other stuff I've added. Ooh, there's my rear work lights. Stuff like that is what makes running this tractor all day more comfortable to me, is the armrest and these little things that you get on an R that you don't on an E. All right, a couple more features on ergonomics. By far, this is my biggest category of pros because ergonomics was one of the big things that sold me on this series of tractors. Tilt steering, being able to take the steering wheel and turn it up almost flat to allow you to get on and off a lot easier was a big plus. I got really long legs, so when I stand up, if the steering wheel's down, I end up catching mid-thigh. Kind of painful. The high back seat, the 2038 and the 2032, I know for sure, have a higher back seat than the 3Es, and I'm pretty sure the 1025Rs. It's a lot more comfortable when you're in it all day. It's actually a softer foam, feels like, and it's got more suspension in it than I know the 3E did for sure. The last feature is something a little trivial, but I find it enjoyable. My B series had this, my 3025E didn't. Is the rubber floor mat. For one, it's a lot easier getting on and off if it's wet. You don't slip as bad. But 8 hours of your feet vibrating, when you get done, your feet are like, eh. So it adds some comfort if you're going to be using this thing for a long time. Pro number 3. The 2Rs come with a drawbar. The 3Es, you have to add it. And the 2R drawbar is nicer than the 3E because it's got the two little places where you can put safety chains. Think of it like a hitch on a truck. You got your 2 little places you can put safety chains. What this does is if you trailer your equipment, 2 perfect tie-down points. Love it. Sometimes I'll load and unload my tractor 7-8 times a day. So quicker loading times is important to me, and that was another thing I liked, that it had that already built in, didn't have to add an extra, and I could just clip into it and tie my tractor down on the trailer. Pro number 4 that I like. My fuel gauge is in my cluster. Not on the fuel tank behind me, or as on some of the older 3Es up on the front. It's in the cluster, like it is in your car. Now, my instrument panel that is in this tractor is the same as the one that was in my 3E. But my fuel gauge was on the back, on the fuel tank. So you want to know how much fuel you had? Let's turn around and look at it. And it didn't seem, it bounced quite a bit. This one seems pretty rock solid. And there was an open spot on my 3E where all they had to do was put the needle in there and bam. But I guess in E-Series, they're trying to save some money, and that's one place I don't really think they should save money. Put it so you can see your fuel and your gauge cluster like everybody's used to in their car. Pro number 5 that I enjoy about this tractor, the factory mounted fender lights. If you don't have a loader, this one's irrelevant. If you have a loader, this one's very important, because when you have a loader, your bucket covers your front headlights. The 2Rs come with nice factory lights on the fenders that are wired into the factory switch. Makes perfect sense. The one thing though, John Deere, if you watch this, it's 2020. Why are you still running incandescent bulbs in your tractors? LEDs are not expensive anymore. Put LEDs in, for Christ's sake. I got LEDs on the rear. I got a nice white light back there, and I got this yellow up here. Eventually those are going to get changed out, change the bulbs out for LEDs, but Deere, just put LEDs in it from the get-go. So when we're not going to add incandescent bulbs for rear work lights. We're going to add LEDs. Now we got white light and yellow light. LEDs are way better. And they run cooler. These things get kind of hot. Pro number 6. I didn't think that I would actually use this feature. I had it on my dad's tractor, his big 50 horse New Holland. It's a 1998 model. The loader's never been off that tractor. It's got a removable loader. Never taken it off. No need to. I find myself taking my loader off. Especially I do a lot of finish mowing on large acreages, and I don't need a bush hog. Why? It's a lot more compact. It's easier to haul. So I remove my loader and leave it at home when I go to those jobs. One thing that I didn't get when I bought the tractor, because I was like, I ain't gonna take my loader off, was the single point hydraulic disconnect. Probably gonna end up getting that because how much I do take my loader on and off, and it would be nice to do it one time. So I'm probably gonna end up doing that. Pro number 7, the split brake. I know I mentioned the split brake in the cons, but I actually like the split brake. I just don't like the fact that the little locking mechanism works its way out. I love having the split brake. I grew up using a split brake. You need to make tight turns at the end of fields. You can split those brakes and spin this thing around almost like a skid steer almost. So that's another thing I like about it. Pro number 8. And this ain't just a John Deere thing that I like. It's that I really, with a passion, hate a hydrostatic drive tractor that has a treadle pedal. My feet do not fit on a treadle pedal. The whole, I can't do the heel and toe, and it just don't work for me. It's not comfortable. I went in to buy a Kubota when I bought my first John Deere. But my dealer's a Kubota, John Deere, and New Holland. And I could get off one tractor and get on another one and drive them back and forth. And my 3025E was the first John Deere I'd ever driven with the Twin Touch, the 2 independent pedals, which is not a John Deere thing. It's just how the manufacturer decides to do their hydrostat drive. I got friends that have Kubotas, that have other manufacturers that have treadle pedals. It's not comfortable. If you rest your foot on top to do it like the whole treadle pedal thing, now your foot's up, hurts my hip. I enjoy the 2 pedals. John Deere, New Holland, LS, I think Yanmar has it. Don't quote me on this. Coyote maybe. I think Kubota and Massey have the treadle pedal design. It's just not for me. And Massey may not even. I can't remember exactly. But I don't have a Massey dealer near me, so I rule them out. I need parts too conveniently, so I buy a tractor where I have a dealer local. Pro number 9. When I bought my tractor, I knew the tractor had this. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I do, and that is the electronic auto throttle. If you don't know what that is, your tractor can be at an idle, and when you mash the pedal to go forward or backwards, it automatically throttles up the engine to match your needed power for wherever your hydrostat's at. It's nice to be able to, start the tractor up, get on it, back out, especially loader work. You're not going around real fast. You get in a pile, you push it, throttles up, goes in, it's great. I love it. Only time I turn it off is when I need a set horse or a RPM, like running a 3-point, because these will overspeed over your 540 RPM. So Turn it off when you're doing PTO work, because if you press the throttle or the hydrostat all the way down, it will actually throttle your tractor up past 540 RPMs. Only time I turn this thing off. The rest of the time, auto throttle is the way to go. Saves fuel, keeps the motor quiet when you're not moving. It's a good feature. Pro number 10. Another one of those, I knew I had it, didn't think I'd use it. It was an option on my 3E. I never got it because I didn't think I'd like it. Cruise control. My garden that I have is like a mile away from my house. This is about the only time I use it. And so I take the tractor on the road and I'll go over there and plow my garden and do everything over there. I literally get on the road, get up to speed, reach over, hit the button. It's cruise control like in your car. You're not having to hold the pedal down for a real long time. Every now and then when I'm doing some finish mowing on a 10-acre field that I mow, I'll set it and just go around and around, making another left turn, you know. But it's a nice feature. Pro number 11. I didn't even think about this one really when I got it. I knew the fuel tank on these were in the left-hand fender versus the 3Es are mounted behind the seat, which is way better than up on the hood because fueling is pretty much the same spot it is on this. But that fuel tank takes up so much space back here behind your seat. You can't see down to the ground really without getting out of your seat and looking backwards. And on a 3E, the seat sensor is so sensitive. You raise your butt cheek up and it's shutting off. So it's really hard to see behind you and see like between your implement and your tractor. This one's clear down and you can see. And I really enjoy that not being there now that I've had it in the fender and versus on the back. Pro number 12. And this happens to do with 12-volt power. On my 3025E, it had a 12-volt cigarette plug over here on the right-hand fender next to the PTO switch. Well, I like to listen to music. Got the AirPods in, but my phone sucks. Battery dies. Got to charge it. Put your phone in the cup holder, plug it in there, and say no, a limb catches your cord, and poop, there off the tractor goes your phone. So I remedied that. I put a link to where I did that in my E. I put a USB charging port in my glove box because that way everything was nice and secure in there and I didn't have to worry about the phone falling off and coming off the tractor while I was listening to music. Thank you, John Deere, for putting the 12-volt outlet in the actual glove box on this versus over here on the console. Pro number 13 is the mid PTO. I don't use the mid PTO, but it does have a feature that I enjoy. On the left-hand side, there is a selector where you can select the mid PTO, both PTOs, or the rear PTO. Mine usually stays in the rear PTO mode because I only have rear PTO implements. Where I do use the mid PTO is hooking up. You put the selector into the mid only PTO and your PTO shaft on the back free spins. So no more trying to turn the actual implement shaft to line it up. Literally take two fingers up there and turn it as you're holding it up there and it'll slide right on. Great feature. It's a bonus feature because it's really not designed for that, but it works. Pro tip number 14. Deere didn't really design this, but they're the same on the 3E versus the 2R. The difference is the dipsticks and it's how easy they are to access. The 3E has a fixed loader. So the loader frame is further back. Literally, here's your loader frame. Your oil dipstick's right here. So you can get it out, that's no problem. It's getting the flashlight to find the hole to put it back in. The 2R, the removable loader, the 220R frame is a little bit further, and that oil dipstick, here's your loader frame, your oil dipstick's right behind it. Way easier to check the oil on daily maintenance. Same for the hydraulic oil, which is on the back, exact same spot on the 3E, except the difference 2R. There's no fuel tank overhead over the dipstick. to have to reach in under and get it out. Works better. Pro number 15. And I only added this one right before I made the video because I've spent the last 2 days spreading 34 tons of gravel. And it's the first time I've really actually used the loader bucket on this because my grapple stays on it most of the time. This one has the fast dump. It's kind of like the float function. You know, you push it forward to lower it, you push it all the way and it'll go into float mode, and there's a fast dump. You push it to the right, it stops. That's the regular dump where it's actually putting pressure down. If you go a little bit past the detent there, it dumps both the cylinders and allows, if you got something in the bucket, it'll just dump. And I was moving a lot of gravel and it was nice just to be able to go and dump it and not actually have to wait on it to dump. So speeds loader operation up if you're moving like bulk material with a bucket. All right. So that's all the pros. Real quick, I want to go over some upgrades that I've done on the tractor. Another thing, Deere, put some rear work lights on factory and make them LED. It's not hard. I added, if you see one right here and one right here, I added those that shine out the back. Now Deere did put a little mount down there, and I'll show you that here in a second when I go around back. But that's not enough because it's for one light. So, take your screws out that hold your tail light assembly on. Put you some LEDs on there. Run them in the holes. Wire it in. I got mine wired up into a... See how much that lights up back there? There's actually 3 lights. Those 2 and then the one pointing down at 3-point to hook up and stuff. But 50, 60 bucks maybe. Not an expensive upgrade. Deere, you could do it for cheaper. The other thing I've added was there's another switch over here on the rocker panel. You've probably seen it right below my PTO. And what that does is control a 12-volt plug I have on the back. I have an electric sprayer. So that way I plug it in, flip a switch, power comes on the sprayer, it's good to go, cut it off. That's all that's for. I did add the WR Long third function kit to run my grapple, and the video for it is actually up now, so I'll try to post a link if I can post any more links. And then I'm going to take you around and show you the telescoping link ends because Deere says you can't do them. Alright, so we're back of the tractor. So I put this little LED on here also to shine down on my 3-point when I'm hooking it up. But here's what I wanted to show you that Deere says you can't put on it. It's the telescoping link ends where these come out. Like I said, I got to finish the video for that. And let's see here. This is that little piece that messes up all the time and don't hold my lift arm or my top hook. Alright, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. If you hadn't already, subscribe, pound that like button, and click the little bell notification for updates on future videos. Thank you. Have a blessed day. And I am sorry about the kids screaming in the house.